I had to put the hat on because my hair looks absolutely horrible. Sorry for not uploading a video yesterday. I was super busy. A lot of graduation stuff, and I ended up going to the gym. You know, hit a late night back workout. Didn't get back till 11:30, and I was exhausted. So today's video will be a recap of yesterday's trade and today's trade. Today, not today's. Today was pretty brutal. I'm not gonna lie. In a sense of both execution, I guess, and um, not confidence, but psychological, aspect of it. Not mainly just being all over the place. But we'll get into that today, and then we'll grade the performance, and also get into yesterday. I missed yesterday's long by only a few seconds, and I'll recap everything that happened there, and yeah, and my lack of preparation. So we'll start with yesterday. I'm not gonna lie, I actually tried to record this like 2 minutes ago, but I got confused on the confluences or like the higher time frame on yesterday's trade because all these lines are here, and I'm starting to get confused. I'm not gonna lie, but I'll recap the most I can because we had higher time frame SMT like always. Okay, I guess I can only go replay on one of them, and but we'll recap why I was looking for longs, why I didn't execute short prior to news data release, because if we go right here, go both Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday we had ISM, Thursday today we had unemployments, but focusing on ISM, we had ISM news data release here at 10 a.m. Let me do this instead. Oops. Okay, we won't do that instead. So this was news data release. We ended up taking out these 15-minute highs, forming an SMT with this. I'd assume it was an hourly high. Yeah, it was this hourly high right here. I'll show it to you guys on ES as well. Right here, we ended up forming a higher time frame SMT. If you didn't notice that, completely fine. I mean, it's one of those things, like I said, it's easier to notice the more prominent swing highs, swing lows, but there are times like this where you can still utilize SMT, and I do. However, the reason why I didn't execute short after taking out this internal to the downside was because I didn't like the change in state of delivery. It didn't look clear enough for me in order to actually take a, solid execution upon. Typically, I'll find an example. I mean, this is a micro change in state of delivery, but even something like that would have been clearer than this. Now, it still was a change in state of delivery to the downside upon this displacement candle right here. However, I just weighed everything in, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to take it. And we have news data release. Obviously, news data release isn't an excuse to not take a solid setup. But like I said, I didn't like the change in state of delivery. I didn't like how price action looked here. Now, if we would have done something like this, where's the pattern? Path. Let's say here, then displace any sort of displacement, then I would have executed. I just didn't like really how price action, had its change in state of delivery to the downside, so I decided to avoid that. I also had to get out of the house by 10:30, so 7:30 a.m. I was really looking to rush a trade this day. I'm not gonna lie, but that doesn't matter because there was still a trade opportunity before that time, and that's once we took out this internal right here. So once price action was continuing to the downside, I was actually expecting us to slightly continue lower before looking for any reversal because it looked like we had swept out higher time frame liquidity and we'd be looking for lower draws. However, once we took out this internal and formed the micro change state delivery to the upside, I was looking to execute. I was actually looking to target these highs again, the high of day, which is kind of crazy because you just swept out that liquidity. But that was my overall daily target. Why did I end up missing this trade? I really just wasn't prepared, to be honest. I was like, oh, I want to see price action form that micro change state delivery to the upside. We formed it. It was like 4 seconds left. I was like, okay, we're going to execute upon candle close, and immediately began displacing to the upside right here. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to execute. I really just got caught in a mix of perfect entry. I was slightly distracted. Oh, let's see if we'll form that micro trade. It was a whole bunch of things, but if I had to sum it down and actually take accountability for it, I was simply distracted. I wasn't prepared. That was it, and because of due to my lack of preparation, it caused me missing out on this clean long to the upside. Could have looked at target internal for the most efficient trade, but if I would have held till end of day, which was a long time. I'm not going to skip through all the candles. We would have eventually hit take profit. So that was yesterday's trade. I ended up missing. I did, however, end up executing right within here. I closed the trade immediately because I realized, hey, I'm FOMOing in. Yeah, like the drawn liquidity is clear. I could get a free $100 day, but I realized I'm not doing it for the $100 day or the payout or not to blow the account. I'm doing it to trade my model. I've been backtesting my data. The point I'm at now is not, hey, I want to see all green P&L. It's, hey, I want to see, hey, does my model work in the live market, right? So I closed the trade. It was a $30 loss, break even basically, but that is what really affected my day psychologically. I was like, man, I shouldn't have done that. I did something I knew I shouldn't have done due to me missing my execution. I was fine with missing the execution. Obviously, I wasn't fine with it, but I was more bitter about the fact that I decided to execute taking a trade that really looked like this in order to catch that $100 day without any real significant confluence, simply due to missing my execution. Because if I would have got my execution, that would have never crossed my mind, and that's kind of how I like to think. So that was yesterday's, and today's. Today was a brutal day. So yesterday, psychologically, technicality wise, technicals, great technicals, right? Understood what price action was trying to do. 7 out of 10, maybe 6 docking points for that missed execution, but that would also go more towards psychological. Psychological, I'd rate it like 4, maybe 5 out of 10. 100% could have been way better if I simply would have just executed, but it happens. I tell you guys that all the time, and I'm still in the process of, I guess, quote, perfecting this model. And that's why I'm making these videos, right? To show you guys the process of it. And, throughout the 30 days, I don't know where we'll be, but I know it will be a lot further than where we are now. But let's go into today, because I've said this for the 4th time already. Today was brutal. So I was looking along to the upside. Let's go on the hourly. On the hourly, what ended up happening? We ended up taking out external liquidity. So my longs were actually against, quote, bias, original bias before, we flipped to the upside. But I was still looking to long. I knew it was risky going into the trading day. If anything, I should have de-risked on my first trade because of how ludicrous the trade was. I was really looking to see this entire wick get reversed within the next 20 minutes before 10 a.m. close and continue back to the upside, which was kind of crazy. I knew it was, but I still went in with normal size anyways. Looked to target higher. It was a crazy RR. I took the trade on ES. Why, you may ask? Because we ended up taking out that internal and forming the SMT, which was right here. So this is how the SMT looked. For anybody curious, and I longed on ES looking to target those data highs. Now, we did end up getting stopped out on that. That was a $217 loss. You could see I had 2 executions here because I ended up executing. I heavily under-risked, and I didn't realize it. So I was like, you know what? Place another 2 more micros. It was 4 micros in total. And then my limit, or my buy stop, whatever you want to call it, was 2 micros instead of 4. So I had to manually close it, causing, that little bit of whatever slippage, if you want to call it, even though it's not slippage. So that was the first loss. Was fine with that. Now, what happened on NQ? This is where the psychological part started messing with me. I can take multiple trades. I can take multiple losses on the day. I know when to get off the chart. However, I do have times where my mind is like prematurely telling me to get off the chart. And today is a good example, even yesterday after taking that break even trade. And it's typically when I execute outside of my model. And what do I mean by that specifically? Not just the model itself, but even the timing of everything down to just like I said, the timing of the execution, the analysis of the execution. If that's off and I'm executing outside of that, my mind, my subconscious will tell me like, yo, I think it's best we step away. Like, yeah, I know there'll be possible trading opportunity on the trading day, but I think it's best we step away for the trading day. That thought will be there. Oftentimes, I'll continue to stay on the chart, not, like it'll break my rules or anything, but I will have that thought in the back of my mind. Now, if it is breaking my rules, if it's over trading, over risking 100% get off, I highly ever, if not ever, over risk and over trade. So that's not really an issue for me, but that little whisper in the back of my mind when it's like, hey, you kind of executed outside of your model, I think it's best to take a step back for the trading day and just watch. It's there because oftentimes it leads to lower probability trades, and I understand that, so I like to cut it off quickly. But now, let's talk about this trade on NQ right here, this first trade and this second trade. Because you can see, I actually longed. I was still looking to target these data highs on the day. I was adamant about these longs. I'm not going to lie. They looked crazy originally because, you have to see where it's coming from. Like, we just swept out liquidity. If you're looking at this like on a bear chart, you'd probably assume we're continuing lower, right? If you're not acknowledging, hey, what's happening on the lower time frames, we took out internal, blah, blah, SMT, blah, blah, blah. If you're just looking at this, you're like, okay, yeah, we swept out liquidity. We could possibly look to target these hourly lows. And I was actually looking to potentially see price action continue to this daily fair value gap. That was the short idea, but let's focus on one trade at a time. My bad, I'm getting off track. But I ended up executing here. Now, I wasn't on the chart at this time, but we did end up forming the micro chain state delivery. I was away on my phone, let's just say, blowing up the LA Fitness walls, imploding on the LA Fitness walls. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. If you don't know what I mean, you don't know what I mean. But Taco Bell Crunchwrap Supreme. Is that an actual item? I've never been to Taco Bell, so I don't know. That should give you enough hints. So, I was looking at the chart from my phone. Once we formed this micro chain state of delivery and an hourly SMT, which I don't even need to go in the hourly to show you guys because you guys will be able to see it right here. Any of these lows, but on the hourly, you get the picture. Probably this one. From here to here, here to here. I don't need to mark it out. You guys see it. And once we formed that, I was like, yo, this is a good second setup. I was fine allocating my risk on it, looking to target higher. Really these internal highs, but, could have held till these external. And I would have, yes, you guys know me, I would have continued to hold. I don't do break-even trades. I literally hold till TP or SL. But I didn't know how to execute on my phone, so I just called it a day. I was like, you know what? We'll execute on the limit or on a limit back into this retracement. Guess what happened? We got back into that retracement, and that's when my mind started telling me, yo, you don't usually execute on limit orders upon a retracement. You kind of missed the entry. That's your fault, And I was like, you know what? Yeah, and that's where the doubt started to come in. So once this 952 candle formed, I was like, you know what? Nah, I'm not going to execute. And then 953, that's when the FOMO started to hit. Yo, you know what? This is actually a pretty good setup. So, maybe I should still look to execute. 954, I execute. That was a mistake. So I execute, and I realized immediately, I'm like, or well, I executed at 9, yeah, at the end of this 9:53 candle, and I was like, yo, even if this is a good setup, this is FOMO. I sure the quality of the setup is good, but I don't like the thought process behind it, and I'm someone that if the thought process behind it isn't there, the quality of it, I won't feel good about a win. You know, for example, Monday. Monday was a good win, and the thought process was there. It was a clear win, right? But I felt solid about the win. I didn't feel great about it. I wasn't like, yo, this was perfect execution, like, you know, but it was still there. You know, it was a good quality execution. I was able to acknowledge that. However, with this, I was also able to acknowledge, hey, the technicals is there, but the psychological aspect of the execution, like, what will this lead to further down? You know, what habits, what negative habits will this instill? And I was very adamant on that when taking this trade, and have been for a very, very long time. If you guys look at my journey, I'm very adamant on not refining bad habits. So I was like, you know what? I don't want to stay within this trade, you know, and I was fine with that because to be honest, it really fell outside of my model. It was a FOMO execution. It was a, like I said for the third time, great technicals, FOMO execution. That's not right. That doesn't sit right with me. Whether it's a win, whether I make, obviously, you know, if you make 20 bandos, you make 20 bandos, but if you're actually focusing on the growth part of your trading and truly becoming a trader, not just a P&L, then you know what I mean. And so I manually closed the trade. Um, you know, I couldn't get myself to hold that trade regardless. And you can see price action started consolidating. We formed a micro SMT, and I was looking to target short toward that daily fair value gap I was talking about. I was like, you know what? And that's when I went short bias. I was like, hey, we took out this liquidity. Hey, if we swept out higher time frame external, we could look to target higher time frame internal. Um, and that ended up getting stopped out, continuing to validate and hold that higher time frame hourly SMT. And you can see, you know, our overall trade idea on the trading day, looking to catch that reversal, as crazy as it was, because let's be real, who looks to catch a reversal when price action looks like this? It literally looks like there's no signs for it. It's like, why are you targeting long? You're literally trading against quote bias. You know, we swept out external sell side. You're trading against that. You're trading against the market. What are you doing? But the model showcased opportunity. Didn't showcase any opportunity for a short, unfortunately. But like a clear short to downside, a winning short. But still, um, yeah. So that was today. Today was a very, very brutal day. I was fine with the first loss. Um, wasn't fine with this one. I was fine with the short. It was sure lower probability against price action, but yeah, I always think of, hey, if I would have done what I should have done properly, and to be honest, I'm gonna blame my stomach for this, but even though it's a bad excuse, um, yes, I would have caught these longs. You would have seen, hey, Lonnie caught, 4R today or 3R or whatever, risk reward. Who cares what it's risk reward? But I would have caught the trade to the upside, longs to the upside, and I would have gone down into a breakdown how I did that, even though I really just told you guys how I was looking for longs. Regardless, but yeah, psychologically, mentally, this was this was a heavy L day, like heavy on the execution part. That's really what I call a losing day or a winning day. Not necessarily, I don't I don't judge the P&L whether or not it's a losing day or a winning day, because we all know you can win a trade and break all of your rules, and you could lose a trade following all of your rules. Does that mean it's a losing day? Does that mean someone that's a question I think everyone should ask themselves, or at least if you're in that intermediate stage or just getting started, what do I qualify as a winning day and a losing day? Do I judge it based on the measure of P&L or my performance? And by performance, I mean, psychologically, technical wise, and all of this sort, right? Do I stay calm and composed, or do I crash out and start taking a bunch of trades that I know I shouldn't be taking that's outside of my model? Today, I didn't take trades that were outside of my model. However, the execution behind them, it wasn't, not wasn't the best, but it just wasn't good. The FOMO behind this execution, the confusion and lack of clarity behind the short. Um, if anything, the best trade on the day was the original long to the upside on ES. But apart from that, that was today's trading day. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys were able to take something away from it, pertaining to focusing on how you measure your performance on the trading day. Me personally, I am going to obviously go journal this and journal yesterday, because I need to improve upon me not missing any trades. I need to ensure that, hey, missing a trade isn't an excuse. I'm completely fine with, clicking the execution button. I have no hesitation at all in doing that. But the timing of my executions, I just need to execute, really. I mean, I said a bunch of stuff. Now I'm just repeating everything because I don't know what to say and I'm mixing up my words. So that's today's trade. Hope you guys enjoyed. Love you guys, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.